off the joints that I've already made on this. So you can see brand new joints, and then I want to make these guys the same. So let's go ahead and rip them the same. We'll go ahead and rip off this 30-degree miter. This 30-degree miter, which at 11 1/4, this will be gone. So we're using the Biesmeyer tape on the fence. I don't know if you can see it, so oh shit, that's the Biesmeyer. So I'm not using my tape. I want to check things with my tape, but the measurements are accurate measurements are a requisite here, but accurate measurements at this point for our rough stock to show you the joints is not that important. But you should have this thing calibrated on your table saw, so you don't have to use a tape measure. You can use the built-in tape and just dial it in and take it right to that guy right there, right? Okay, let's go back to where we were. Hopefully that's still, and I guess I could look at it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good, good. Sorry for this, gang. I gotta plug this baby in because I want it to keep charging while I work with it. Okay, plugged in. There we go. Plugged in? Yeah, plugged in. And yeah, you can see me. Okay, good. And you can see the table saw. Okay, good. So the first thing we're going to do is going to take these guys and make them 11 1/4. And I'll probably have to rip it again. So this one's going to wind up getting down to 10 3/4. So the first one we're going to rip, first one we'll rip, to rip that off would be at 11 1/2. And we've got to rip that one at 11 1/4. Okay, so to get that existing joint off there, we're going to rip it at 11 1/2. Okay. 11 1/2. Here we go. We want to crank this blade up. Hopefully you can see this. We're going to crank this blade up so that it's maybe, it's just above the gullets. Those are the gullets, the bottom of the carbide teeth. The bottom of those little cutouts between each teeth is called the gullet, and that allows the chips to clear. So I'm going to turn on the vacuum, which is connected to this saw, and I'm going to turn on the saw, and I'm going to go ahead and rip off, for starters, that, which by the way, we're going to be creating that joint. That's the shoulder miter, right? Can you see that? Yeah, that's the shoulder miter. We're going to make it go away. Here we go. Nice and clean. Okay. Let the blade stop before you take anything off the table or get anywhere near the blade. Complete stop. Okay. We ripped off that part of our joint. All right. So then a nice clean edge to go with at 11 1/4. Now we're going to need to rip this off. And this is going to be, this shoulder has got to come off at 11 1/4. Then I'm going to have to take that rabbet off. So eventually we're going to get down to 10 3/4. So let's just do that, and then I'll have nice clean edges. 10 3/4, right? Okay, and they're already, in terms of width, they're already both 9 1/2. So 10 3/4, dialed in on the Biesmeyer, turned on. Turn on the dust collection. Oh shit. Here we go. Okay, so we ripped these parts off. This is part of were the joint parts, the ends of those pieces of plywood. Now we got clean plywood. Clean plywood, right? No joints. So the first joint we're going to do is a rabbet joint. And no matter what somebody tells you, on a table saw there really only is one way to do a rabbet. Most woodworking operations have more than one way, and there are more than one ways to make a rabbet. You can make a rabbet on the joiner, which I may get a chance to show you in this class. I may not. You can make a rabbet with a router, and you can make a rabbet with a skill saw too. But the table saw is my preferred method of making rabbets. And this is how you do it, right? So we're going to rabbet this piece here to receive this piece here. So here we go. First things first, we're going to rabbet this for this piece, and we want to rabbet it as deep as the piece that's going to fit in the rabbet. So we want to put that piece up next to our work, and we want to crank the saw down to just so the outside set of that tooth is just flush with our material. And that's how deep we want this cut. And we're going to put the rabbet on this edge. Yeah? Yes, yes. How should we put the rabbet on the long edge? We'll put the rabbet on the long edge, okay? So we're going to do the cutout here. We're going to cut away this blowout. So our first cut is we want to do a 3/8 by 3/4 rabbet. This is 3/4 material. And by the way, at one point I will stop using the tape and start using my $10 General micrometer, which gives me outside dimensions, inside dimensions, and it'll give me depth right there. Okay. So this material is not even close to 3/4. It's 44/64, which is, oh my God, I can't read that. 11/32, right? No. 44/64 is 2, so it's 22/64. Anyway, wow, that's really small. So I'm going to just do a 1/4 inch rabbet, okay? So I want to do a 1/4 inch over. So I'm going to measure 1/4 inch from the fence to the outside tooth. So I'm going to set this guy at 1/4. 1/4. That's also 1/4. That's 1/4. And that's 1/4. So with this guy, I'm going to use him to the outside set of my tooth. So because the teeth are set, right? One's got a bevel like that, and one's got a bevel like that. I want to go to that one, to the outside set. Okay, I like it. So I should have a test piece, and I will use a test piece. Okay. Let's use this baby as a no. We'll use this baby as a test piece. Okay. 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 Here we go. Okay, so depth of cut. It's a little bit deep. This is really right at 44/64. And the depth of our cut, which one was it? This one. Is more like 45, so it's really almost there. I'm going to crank it down just ever so slightly. Okay, and I'm going to call that our first cut good. And let's see, this one doesn't matter all that much unless it's got to be a specific rabbet, but let's go ahead and see what we're doing there. And that's right on 1/4 of an inch. Perfect. That there, from the fence to the outside of the cut, that part right there is right on 1/4 inch. And that's what we want. That's going to give us our 1/4 by 3/4 rabbet. So let's go ahead and do that rabbet. The first cut, which is always this long cut. That's the cut. Now, when you cut a rabbet, that's your first cut, the material on end. Now, if it's a long, like a jam leg, you know, a 6/8 leg or a 7-foot leg, it's pretty tough to hold that up and run it through a table saw. Those you might want to do on the flat with a router, radial arm saw. There's a variety of other ways to do that. So that's our first cut, right? Now we are going to take that first cut and make the shoulder for the rabbet by, we'll get the fence out of the way for now. And we'll drop this saw blade down to just the height we need to make our shoulder for the rabbet. Okay, that's good. I like that. So you can zoom that. Let's zoom it. Okay, see that? Not too well, huh? Okay. Let's zoom out. Get me back up here so you can see me and the table saw. All right, you can still see me. Okay, here we go. Now, the second cut is the depth of that shoulder, the depth of that cut, which is going to create our shoulder. And then the width of the cut is going to be the 3/4. We're going to cut to the outside of that, right? So I'm going to just, I'm going to put the material here and adjust the saw. And let's check it out. Looks pretty good. Yep, I like it. Okay, so watch. Do not stand behind this. See if you can see what's going to happen. Here we go. Okay. That piece flew out the back. That's the piece we just relieved from that stock. We created this rabbet joint. And that rabbet joint will allow us to take a square piece of stock, put it on the joint, put it on the shoulder of the rabbet, right? So it's flush right here. It's setting on a shoulder. So you have nailing from here, and you can also nail down into your shoulder. You are, unfortunately, you know, it's a great joint, and it's got better glue surface than just a butt joint. This would be a butt joint, right? Or this would be a butt joint, right? A rabbet joint, you've got a shoulder to index it on, and you've got more glue surface besides just the end and what you're contacting, and you've gotten rid of the pre-fin. This is pre-finished maple, so you can actually glue to something, and you've got the shoulder to glue to and support it. Okay? Now, unfortunately, you're going to see that plywood somewhere, or maybe it's hidden. If you want a joint or need a joint where it's not appropriate to see plywood, and usually in my book it's not appropriate to see plywood in any kind of a decent joint, then you want to do some kind of a miter joint where you don't see any of the plywood. The edges are all shown, they're captured. And a 45-degree miter is a little tougher to do and certainly tougher to glue and nail. So I'm going to show you a 30-degree shoulder miter joint. But first, I'm going to take a break and have a drink of water.